So now recording is in progress and we're out of the green room. And so Lori, now that you're here and you're not a new tribe member, you've just, added to the recall. I'd like you to talk more about where you are and what has been inspiring you lately, because there was no accident. There's no coincidences between you and I for sure.
Oh, God.
And I know that you have resonated with Paula. And so it's just time that everybody kind of gets a little more familiar with who we are and what we were doing.
Yeah. Oh, God. Where do I start? Like, especially after our conversation. And then, just like sharing everything. There's something to that. Once you start sharing and opening up, then, like, it's like the universe, is responding to that. You're speaking your truth. You're going out there. You're being authentic. And then it's like more things, just more downloads, more openings, more connections, more synchronicities, all that kind of stuff started happening. And so just like, like the stuff I was reaching out to you about, it's just like these creative ideas were coming and different stuff like that. But yeah, this week, I had just a lot of like interesting, like downloads coming in, and through meditation, and I would get up and like write it down. So the whole dimension straddling topic, that we kind of talked about, that's continuing to be a thing, and that's continuing to just come in. And I got like a visual image where I wrote it down to kind of explain the dimensions and how it works and the nonlinear. And I shared that last night, and that was really a connecting visual to kind of start to make sense, because when you're operating within that linear framework, of like, I come in, I'm just this, I go out, and it's not that at all. Understanding the now moment and understanding all of our lives happening simultaneously all at once. And that's how that convergence happens, and how you're tapping into those other dimensions and how you're tapping into those other lives. All that just kind of kept pouring in this week. And I was like, this is fascinating. And it just seemed like that seems to be a continual kind of theme for me that's really starting to pop up and connect a lot. So there's a lot I could say, so I'm going to have to reel it in. But that's kind of one of the main ones that was coming in.
You didn't need to rein it in. We got time. And so, here, you got the floor. If you want to expand some more, I'd like you to do that. But if you're not ready, and
no, I just don't want to like I know, like in a panel situation, like
no, dude, this is your turn.
Okay. Well, and yes, I'm Paula. I listened to y'all's session, and that was part of it too. Like I was hearing different things she was talking about, and I should have just been writing down, because like she'd say something, I was like, yep, and I'd write something down, and it would just like I had a real resonance with her. I've had a resonance with everybody when I listen to each of the different sessions. There was just certain things that Paula was saying in that one where I was like, okie dokie, yep, she and I are tracking on the same page. But on the dimension straddling, I gotta like look at my notes, because there's just a lot going on. And this is what's interesting too, because it kind of came into me. I had read this a while back and I didn't connect it until I looked at the picture that I drew. It was in a Dolores Cannon book, I think, of someone's QHHT session, where they were talking about that tapestry. I don't know if anybody remembers that. I think it's in the Between Life and Death, or it's one of the, I forget, but something, one of those that's got a black cover. But yeah, it was talking about how someone went into like the tapestry room, or the room of tapestry, or something like that. And after I drew this picture and I wrote all this down, that image came to me in the book in that section, and was like, this is kind of what that is. Because I remember when I was reading that section in the book, I saw it as like this big, like almost kind of like a brocade tapestry. That was like glittery with woven strands, and all those woven strands are all the lifetimes and all of, it's like your whole life, And so I'm still not clear for sure, like if that's everybody collectively, or if that's just your own individual one. And that, I think it could be like a both and type of thing. I'm still clear on that, but I just saw, like, as I was reading that, I'm recalling that now based upon what I'm looking at, that like seeing that more like in a linear when I was first read that, and I was like, oh, okay, so it's all, your lives, and it goes through and goes all the way through, and kind of looking at it as one to the other. After I got out of this meditation, I didn't see it that way at all. It was like I was told like this, not this. And so I drew this. It was like, it's just a bunch of lines all. And then I was drawing symbols. So like stars, triangles, squares, whatever, to represent all of the different lifetimes that you have. So we'll come back to that about calling it past lives or whatever. And so I have that all written down like this. So there's like 5 or 6 shapes all on these lines. And as I was looking at it, it was like, no, it's this. It's one's here, one's here, one's here, one's here. So like this one here is 3D Earth Lori right now. This one here could be Lori in Egypt. This one here is Lori in the Pleiades. But they're all happening in the now moment all at once. So it was all just like coming together where I was seeing all the different dimensions and how they're all going on simultaneously. That's your now moment. So when you're tapping into something, it's still, it's in another dimension, but in our 3D, we're looking at it as in the past. We're looking at it, our frame of reference is linear, so we're calling it a past life, but it's really a concurrent parallel life because you're all in that now moment. So you're all synced up. And so this is what was funny, as that's all coming in or whatever. This morning, I get woken up at 4:42. 44 serves a big number in my life. And so I had a whole thing about deja vu and these dimensions and all of this dimensional straddling. And it was like, yeah, when you're having deja vu, that is one of your, and this isn't a super new concept I've heard this before about deja vu or whatever, but when you're doing that, it's because you're clearing or you're syncing something up in that particular lifetime. And so then all those other lifetimes are filling it all at once. So they're getting like a kick. And so when you have one here in this, if I felt the deja vu right now, one of those other parallel lives would be doing some clearing or would do something, and it kicks me and I feel it in this lifetime. So all that was just like pouring in. So I like got my phone. I'm like trying to write it down this morning. But yeah, that's kind of what was happening and what I'm getting. So if any of that makes any sense, or if I need to flesh that out more, they'll let me know. Oh, did we lose Lowell?
No,
I find that totally fascinating myself.
Paula's turn.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to confirm that I'm absolutely fascinated with what you said. And I feel that. I feel like I've had experiences like that with, like I've done a meditation where supposed to be a past life, but it doesn't feel like a past life. It feels like a parallel life.
Yeah.
It's happening now, and it's just a different version of myself. So I totally thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Well, and that's what was interesting because I do resonate so much with this Pleiadian life, and it's still so close. And so that's where I kind of keep tapping into. I know I've had other lives and I tap into those or whatever, but this one's so close. And that's where I kind of was like asking about that. Like, why is this so like right here? And it was like, well, in a linear, if you're going to look at it that way, there was a point at one of these incarnations that you chose to come into Earth for that ascension. So it feels like this Pleiadian, because it said every time I get like a channeling or anything, it's always like you go, like kind of said in the video as well, I go back to the Pleiades after like every incarnation. It's almost kind of like I go there as like a reset because it resonates the most with me. That's like home. That's what feels the most familiar. So it's probably why there's so much resonance and memories and stuff that floods in from that, because there have been many lifetimes there. But I kind of keep seeing myself like at this like round table and planning, to come into Earth and all that kind of stuff. See it all kind of like going down as far as like what I'm wanting to accomplish. I'm coming in for this mission, the lessons I'm wanting to learn. And so, that took place, I believe, like in the Pleiades, where, I'm picking my guides, picking my team that was going to assist for this incarnation. And so if you look at it, it's so hard talking linear. If you look at it from like a linear time space, like that would have been maybe the closest up to this one. So like, that's when I decided that I was going to come in for this mission because the ascension process was going to happen. So I'm recalling that more vividly. And then some of those other memories I'm recalling, I think, are like bleed overs from other of those Pleiadian lifetimes. So I'm just kind of attaching it all together and calling it, you know, like a past life that's been recent. So that is starting to like connect a lot more as to why there's that strong resonance and why those guides feel so close and all that. It feels like that I'm seeing that incarnation connected to this incarnation of when I decided what I was going to do here for this mission.
Those are some thin veils, because if you can really grasp those other things at the same time, I can only speak for myself, and it takes a lot of my focus to hold space for one of those things that are going on at any time.
Mhm.
And you seem to really have this gift where you just kind of slid into it really fluidly and can speak, you know, really authentically about what's going on in these other aspects. That's great. That wasn't why I hope you'd speak first, but in the end, it's just the one I'm most delighted with. We just have to be open to the things that we haven't experienced yet.
Yeah.
And so the idea that we can hold those awarenesses simultaneously, we kind of trip over those subjects in the past.
Mhm.
But, you know, we haven't really dwelt on them until we heard somebody like Lori come along and talk about what that experience is really like. So thank you for offering it. And man, I over the last couple weeks, especially, I have not really connected, and people keep asking me, you know, have gone back to tell us. Well, no, but I have these middle inner earth things that just to say they're rallying around me. I don't know, there's just a crazy amount of interest in that my guides keep just pushing me toward. And so now you see it reflected in all the stuff that's been pouring out of me through this freaking AI program.
Mhm.
It's amazing. It's amazing for me. And then when I show others what it is, it just resonated like crazy. I want to return to the places that I've been. I understand that takes some intent and some focus. And I haven't really resigned myself to that. I just still let my meditation in the morning take me where it's going to take. I open myself up because my mind is empty. Just show me what you want to show me. And, you know, if I insert a question about show me how something's going to happen, you know, that's all I've done. But I haven't really spent any time unintentionally starting to travel to these places. Well, I'm more motivated now. Never mind, I was speaking with Dave Wallace, who called me at 9 o'clock this morning. It was great. He was opening the pie shop, and he had had some other extraordinary experiences. Lots of images of ships in the sky and communications he's had with his contact KJ, and where all that is getting advanced and beyond Dave, because KJ can sense who Dave's friends are through his vibration connection with them. And so he's made offers to reach out to me, which came out of nowhere. But there's other people that KJ was meant to continue to connect with here, not just Dave. Dave was the first one. And apparently that went well enough so that he's willing to explore that more. And again, I'm not the only one, gang. Those efforts are being made to reach into tribes, and all of the people that we've connected with, this information has been for everybody. So I can't wait to disseminate it more. Anyway, Dave and I agreed that after 5 today, we're going to put something together, and he's going to share more of what KJ has been bringing through, and we'll record it and have it up hopefully later before the evening's out. But Dave's kind of where I am. It wasn't intentional that I didn't sign up to speak at a lot of the conferences this year. I just kind of organically working that way. That there's other ways, and this platform is actually more conducive to talking to people that are on the other side of the planet at the same time. So as heartwarming as it was to see people face to face, I'm not going to miss it for a while. There's a whole lot of other energy that has to be overcome in all the other crap that's going on. And I can still see egos getting a hold of messages that, originally were very authentic, that are just getting muzzled because somebody else wants to worry about hits and views. And I just don't have time for it anymore. I'm focused on the things that, we're engaging with. And so I'd rather spend my energies here with this tribe, so that, like Lori, her description of, whatever triggered her mom was her light just got brighter and her mom finally noticed. And so there is where, we get to do our work. And again, we're not here to really change anybody's minds because we already know, been on the other side of the veil. I right now am straddling dimensions, and I'm just trying to explain to the rest of you what I saw and bring it back so that you can start to bring it into your own awareness, because that's phase one. Bring it into your awareness, and then it just comes into your physicality. I still really can't explain how that happens, but believe me, when that was explained to me, and then I went back to analyze all the things that have come across my path, that's exactly how it works. And no one's different than me. My awareness is definitely at a different level. But as for these physical bodies, they all have the same capacity to do what I can do. You just have to focus your attention on it. So who has a response? Sherrie, do you want to offer something? Hi, glad you're here. Do you want to contribute?
Hi. I was nervous to get on here because I don't like being on camera and talking, but my name is Sherrie.
It's your option.
I'm up in Michigan, so I'm missing being outside because it's really cold here. I feel like I have a lot of connection in nature. I'm not sure how I even got into this group. There's some little, seeds and trails. I'm highly connected to crystals. I ended up getting some mandaras, and I believe that's probably the connection, how I found you, Lowell. And yeah, my spiritual awakening also kind of happened in 2020, like the end of it. And it was kind of like slamming into a wall because I thought I knew what spirituality was. Like I was really stubborn and set in what I thought was real and what was spiritual. And then all these other things started opening up. Yeah, so that's a little bit of my story. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
We didn't know what we didn't know until somehow what we resonate with shows up, and then the things that we were conditioned with and the things we thought we knew. Yeah, now there's other things that we get to see that are actually better, higher, but that came at a different vibration. It even feels different when you start to hear that information. So welcome to the tribe. So Irene, you must have some observations.
Definitely. And thanks already so much for this sharing. It's so inspiring. And what I love so much about it is that we come from such different angles, but we connect through this time and space, even though we share the same time and space, but we're in different areas. And this already shows that we're really multidimensional beings and we're here on a big endeavor. So I totally love that. And it's so beautiful that we each have our unique unfoldments and awarenesses, and at the same time we can relate. It's just magnificent how humanity is meant to be. So I'm so thrilled that we're finally seeing it appear in our lives. It's kind of like what we've been waiting for, and as children we so yearned for. Each individual, I don't think there's no one on the planet that has ever not yearned for this. So it's just so profound that we chose to be here. And my heart also goes out to all of those who feel they don't belong here, they belong elsewhere. And if only they knew we're already where we already want to be, Because when we truly connect with the stars or to source, we already know we're already there. And I think this is the true message I feel humanity really needs, and especially young children and teenagers, and anyway, from all ages. Whether you're about to die and you don't know if there's anything beyond this world, I think just knowing this, and this is a message I've also been sharing with my family, from where the simplest, like little babies, like they're little babies, with baby steps from where they're at. And I just so love it that you can just start to see that they're starting to get more open. And whether it's through bliss or through grief, or people losing people, or having a disease and thinking about death and what it really means. I think it's so profound that when we trust, we just find the words for them to approach. We don't need to explain anything, because we resonate. In truth, we're already there. So we can just share from wherever, just give them a hug. Or like an uncle of mine passed away last year, and I haven't seen him for 26 years, and it's okay to me. I'm already connected. Lives work that way. Sometimes it's best to be on a distant, like not showing up in conferences, but you feel more connected outside of a conference than within it. It can be the same with family. You can feel more present with one another, not being with each other, than being with one another, because it's, we have all our issue things, and then the ego stuff is to start to fight. It's like, wow. So, but it's been so beautiful when you start to feel your heart, and you just dare to speak up beyond the boundaries of like, oh my gosh, what you think are gonna accept what I'm saying. If you come from your heart, your essence just knows what to say. It just flows out of your mouth, and you can see such appreciation that they say, and whereas before you could never talk about death or past, lives, following lives. And I just say, there's no need to worry, and once you pass over, you see even more, and everything starts to make sense, and you feel even more connected. And and it's okay if you don't understand, but I'm just feel, and just help you through. And they feel such a relief, and just so happy, and this is like what I start to see now. There's a lot of talking about the death part, but it's like death is the other side of birth. So it's the same with a mother is being birthed, but there's also like a death, because the baby comes from the womb, so the womb is empty. So there is a death in the womb, but there's a birth coming out alive. And I think that's what's been fascinating me lately. Yeah, I don't know where it all came from.
Well,
But
let me
anyway,
ask you a question first.
Yeah.
When you made reference to communications with your family,
Yeah.
did they approach you, or was just this kind of a discussion that you got to start with them?
Usually I need to initiate it a bit, but I can
Okay.
feel the trigger, or I can feel like, now I need to say something. And that's for me
Yeah,
a
when the
lesson.
opening is there. Yes.
Yeah, and it's also for me a lesson, because I'm always the quiet one, and I feel always like I'm not supposed to say anything, because I don't want to disrupt their lives. So for me, it's really about that I dare to kind of anticipate the situation.
Wow.
Like now I dare to say something. Yeah.
The other observations that you were making about, death, and that the whole physical experience, and there's a long assumption of things that we understand people already have surrendered, outside of the things that we were conditioned with to understand, that we're souls. And that's really the part of us that you should focus on when you think of who I am. This is just a vessel I'm riding around in this particular experiment, because that's, again, what the earth is. But that entire sentence just blew people's minds in 3 different ways. So until you can get them to really comprehend each piece of that puzzle, that yes, I'm just a soul riding in this bodysuit right now. And I believe in incarnation. So, okay, there's my second belief. And if I believe that, then I've had past lives before. And there's ways I can go back and I can touch those because they'll lead me to understand more about who I am. Because in my current status in this physicality, I am very limited with the things that I've been given to deal with until I somehow unlock those pieces of my DNA that gives me back control of the things that I already know. And the powers that I already possess, they were removed, for this experiment, to come here into duality and to, pick some new lessons to learn, some good ones, some bad ones, and, here we go. But my job is to help Source know more about itself. I'm a spark of that in the first place. That's what Jesus and people who think that God is inside of you, that's exactly what they're talking about. And I've never been disconnected from any of it. I'm just riding around in this density. And, when I look back at it now, I'll say the words out loud. It's pretty freaking courageous to choose to do this in the first place. Now that I know what I got myself into, coming back into the physical world is a bitch. And those of us that have experiences to step into the next realm and see how beautiful it is and what we have waiting for us, the whole duality thing is then just an observation. It's not a challenge that we have to label all the time and then pick a side to pick. We're done with that. We've always been done with that. So somebody mentioned earlier, we're finally to the place we have always waited for. What we had all known was there somewhere. We're on the precipice of it. And so we're all light workers in this room. I really didn't put that together. And I wondered about that 144,000 prophecy. And never really gave much credence to numbers that humanity has attached to anything. However, I really wonder, because there's really a finite number of people, very finite, that really get it to the level that we've all got it so far, so that we can have discussions like this and then figure out, how, if we intend to help others get here, how do we find that way? Lori talked about spoon feeding her mom in the way she did. And Irene talked about spoon feeding her friends and family the way that she did. That's our gift. And every one of us had to do that differently with different people. So yes, we're going to be one at a time for a while yet, but that's what it takes. And when I get the greatest gift I get now is when I get to see the look on someone's face when they realize something that just raised their awareness. I live for that. I know that's what I'm here for. When you get the things that I get to see and experience, wow, cool. My job is done then. And then you can start to report on the things that you're going to see and experience, because they're not the same as mine. They weren't meant to be. I hope you all get to see Telos the way that I got to see that, but you're probably not going to get there the same way I did. That doesn't mean you won't get there. Your journey and your path's just going to be different. But once we can reach into the next dimension, it's the same for all of us kids. All of the things that are around us right now that we just don't vibrate high enough to experience, all of that's going to be revealed shortly. And look how quickly we've talked about, like Lori described what I sound like the veils have disappeared altogether. And it's just up to you to reach into it to sense what you want to sense next. And so if we can really grasp that idea, then we're back to being co-creators, because, oh my God, wait a minute. I, with my intent, can create the next thing in my life. And when the whole collective is doing the same thing, and not by choice, it wasn't that, hey, Paula and Lori and Irene and Phil and Sherrie and Christine, we're all going to think this tomorrow for 10 minutes and watch it manifest. There's just a nature that comes about us that we're all happen to be talking and thinking about the same thing without ever having to describe it. When Lori was giving descriptions of the things that she had been documenting through, whatever, she was receiving, everyone was a symbol. She wasn't writing words, was she? Yes, they're not saying that she doesn't do automatic writing. And I think that's just when it's coming at her at such a pace that that's all I can do is just turn it off and just write. the descriptions of the things that I have heard now from people that are really meaningful to them come in the form of symbols. Who's got an observation?
One thing that you said that I'm so grateful for is, you know, I feel like it's not my job to carry somebody over the line, but when you create the awareness alone, just through whatever kind of thing you're inspired to, the beauty and the genius is that spirit comes in and does the rest of the job, the bigger job. But we have to have the courage. It's almost like spirit is saying, do you have the courage to just say your truth and bring the awareness out there? That's the only thing you need to do. We'll take care of everything else on the other side. Whereas I think in the past, there was this savior idea, like somebody has to come in and, you know, provide this savior service, which no, in my opinion, doesn't serve anybody, because then you're just beholden to something else, right? So I think the genius of that is all I have to do is just be genuine, like Lori was saying, be myself, be genuine. Irene, like you said, you're just genuine with your family. You just give them a hug, and just through that, you're carrying that awareness. And then spirit says, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it from that end, you know? And I think that is absolutely genius way to awaken us collectively. One thing. Number two, I think it's also good for us to be aware, like, for example, you think to yourself, well, when is this big shift happening? When, you know, no. I feel like we see how quickly things can change from 1 minute to the next, just with a little bit of news. You know, we have a relationship with China that has been strained, but then this balloon comes along and all of a sudden, boom. Look how quickly everything has shifted because this balloon was found above Montana. Where was it found? It was found above these an army base that has these nuclear warheads at it. This same base was a point of discussion last May with the Defense Department, with one of the congressmen saying, can you look into that event that happened in 1969 where the warheads were disabled? And now this is happening with China, isn't it? So I say all that to say, I don't know where it's going to go. But what I'm saying is how quickly things can shift. We assume, oh, well, things are going A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But instantaneously, things change and shift that quickly. All of a sudden, our relationship with China has changed dramatically in the last 24 hours. And it's just interesting. And it is around nuclear warheads.
Fear-based. Decide how that narrative got out there, who perpetuated it, who caused all of the steps up to it. You know, it's just one more thing to take your eye off the ball, a little more white noise for you to have to be distracted with, so that, you know, we're not focusing on things that serve all of us. Anyway,
Right.
Christine.
And so when you're in alignment, those things don't mean anything, do they? When you're in alignment, you're
no.
focused in the right direction.
Right. Well, you don't feed it your energy. And once you give any attention to anything, you feed your energy to that. And if it's negative, believe me, boys and girls, that's what the universe is going to give you back. And now that the veils are thinning and they're trying to get our attention, all that's coming back with greater abundance. I've always said that your intent gets put out there, the universe gives it back in abundance. Multiply that like by 10 right now, because that's how I feel things are accelerating and how much the energy has shifted since the beginning of the year. I don't know what it is, but it is palpable now. And it's time for us to master that. We are aware of it. It means we can take control of it. And let's start to use that as a tool. You have these gifts. Here, the universe is giving it back to you again. We've been asking for these abilities to be returned to us. Here they come. So we just have to figure out the best way to use them. And, you know, that's it's all a crapshoot when you have no experience with any of this at all, and really no manual I can go to, and fewer people that I can ask about, the things that I just have a small bit of mastery about. Holy cow. The more I think I know, the less I really do. But wow, look at what I've kind of stepped into, because there's unlimited access to information that once you're tapped into it and you give it just a little bit of feed, man, all of a sudden it looks like you just opened up the well gates to some knowledge that you're pulling from somewhere that wasn't in your immediate wherewithal. But holy cow, here it just pours out.
But when you're in alignment too, you don't care. You know what I mean? Like about those things. Like that, we were just talking about that the other day. I said something to the fact, like, I have no idea what's going on, like in current events or the balloon thing. Like I had no clue. Like it's just not even on like my radar, because I'm in such alignment with what I want to, where I want to be focused. And so like, I just like literally don't care about these other topics or whatever. And I know they're like affecting us and things like that, but it's interesting. Yeah, when you're vibrating and you're resonating at the level you want to be at and all of that, then these things just drop off to the side. And I don't want fear, and I don't want to like contribute to it. And so I'm like, like I won't even give it attention. Something you said, Paula, I'm like over here like writing like a crazy girl. Whenever you were talking about that savior mentality, that goes hand in hand with this, because it is taking back your power and your sovereignty. So therefore, that whole savior complex is, again, giving away your power, giving it away to something or somebody else to come in and save and get you to where you're supposed to be. So it takes that responsibility factor off of you to not have to work through stuff to ascend and all that kind of stuff. So again, here we just hand our power over. I'll just give it to the savior complex to get me to where I need to be, rather than me diving in, doing the hard work and getting to where I want to be to raise my vibration and consciousness and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, all that's just like coming in super strong as you were talking. I could just see that visual.
That's exactly it. It's I don't want to go through the pain of my personal development, because you do have to walk through the dark night of the soul lots of times probably. But for those that are willing to walk that path, you're right. You can be guided to everything that you want and need as you want and need it. For me, and I think I've shared this before, I didn't know that there was a Shambhala that really existed. I thought it was just a mythical kingdom, an ideal, like an opportunity for a utopia on earth. So I literally, for a year and a half, just put it in my affirmations. I'm so happy and grateful now that I've been guided to Shambhala, to liberty and justice for all. And I just wrote it and I read it. I wrote it and I read it day and night. Just this idea that this could be a good world. And then in June, there was this realization that, no, it really does exist. Like it's for real, like it's a real physical. But I think to myself, was it real? Was it really, or did I make it real? And then I'm connecting with other people that thought the same thing. And then we're all making it real together. Like, I'm like, what came first, the chicken or the egg here?
It's that paradox. It's that both and, the whole paradox of if you want it, you create it, you can manifest it, then it is real. And then you work backwards and go, but wait, was it my imagination just making it up? And it's like,
or did I receive it? Did somebody say this to me? And then I picked up on it because I was in vibration, and then I created it. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, before I realized it was true, I was making it come true. And it's just magical. And you're right. Whatever you focus on is what you're going to get. So I was focusing on Shambhala. And then I wasn't focusing on what was going on in the news. I don't have cable. Like I have to get it vicariously through other methods. So yeah, it's magic. It's magic. It really is.
Well, and your intuition and your imagination, they sit like really closely together in the same spot in your brain. So they're very closely linked. So that's where manifestation and creation and all that, they're right there together. So it's one and the same. But I believe if you can imagine it, it can be real in a sense as well. Like, because that's coming from somewhere, you know what I mean? You're pulling that from somewhere. So I don't really believe that it's just all complete imagination, because it's something, you're pulling it from some memory, DNA, something that is resonating, connecting. Now you may attach something to it, or whatever, but you'll sift that out, and your intuition will be right there, holding hands with it, saying, it's this, not this.
You poor little human being. Just listen to you try and make sense of any of that.
We're toddlers, aren't we? We're just like, what's going
Yes.
on? Yeah, exactly. It's very interesting. Thank you
Paula,
for sharing that.
I thought Shambhala was just a song too, if it makes you feel better.
So Christine, I keep asking if you want to make a contribution, and you're not compelled to, but if you want to offer something, go ahead.
I put my hand up. Hi, this is my first time with y'all. I saw you recently, Lowell, on a summit. I can't remember which one, but you really struck me as being someone I resonate with, and I like your art and all that imagery. And so I decided to jump on today. And it's interesting because I live in Montana, and with the balloon, it's kind of how do I say this? It's like, I guess it's my archetype, and trying to be connected and the web of life, and we're all one. And that's why things come in my field and I pay attention. And I'm very analytical, and I can see through the smoke and mirrors. And so it's kind of entertaining for me. But at the same time, it's all about, I like to call it courageous dreaming. So may the truth be revealed. It seems to be a time of truth. And so with the balloon, I was laughing my ass off, and someone created a meme like, I've checked myself safe from the Chinese balloon. And with it being with Montana Has, the nuclear warhead, it was just revealed a couple of weeks ago that the people who work the missilers all have this rare blood cancer and they're dying. We also have Merck and Pfizer and a class 4 secret INEO lab 50 miles south of here. So I think there's way more to it. And it's about resources, right? And control. And as that balloon went through where it went through, it was going through where all these pipelines are going in. Bristol Bay just got denied. So I think about it as resources, right? And that's what China really seems to want to gain, that power. So I'm laughing, going, good for you, you know, you're seeing where all this destruction's happening on the planet, and da-da-da. And yeah, it's just, I think it's very humorous. So I'm hoping that some people can get the bigger picture and just really, I'm trying to connect to the earth again. I used to be very connected to this planet, and it's been very disheartening my entire life about the destruction that mankind does to this lovely planet that gives us everything. So with that, I struggle with wanting to be here, because it's not the life I deserve, desire, or intended to live. And I'm kind of making some big headway with connection lately. And that's why I think it's really been helpful to be on Zooms with people around the world. I do breath work. And it just amazes me, people in Europe, especially in UK and those Celtic areas, there's just something different about them than Americans. And it's just been so loving and warm, and gave me a safe space that I really have just been getting downloads and seeing a lot of stuff, you know. And then I also realized that we're just here for a blip, right? And I got this amazing download the other night that, oh shit, this isn't the only planet that sustains life. There's like 10,000 of them out there in the universe. And I work with the cosmos a lot, and it was actually kind of mind-blowing, because I see the Big Dipper as the place that holds sacred water, easy water, whatever you want to call it, and it's where souls come and go and get dipped in planets and sent to their next destination, perhaps. And with the comet going right by the Big Dipper and the North Star right now, I got this huge message. And it just goes back to, like, in Ireland a long time ago, whatever the Celts, they had to turn to the cosmos because there was so much asteroid activity and shooting star. Anyway, it lasted for a long time, and I've lived that before. I've lived it, and it wasn't fearful. It was more, it's starting new life. And it just kind of gave me hope, because it was like, okay, do your shit, be that bridge, ascend, get on that level where you're supposed to be. Yeah, it's gonna suck because you got to hold it here on this, in this realm, which isn't, it's just a stepping stone. It's like, I'm gonna get to go to the next realm, which is, so I focus on that, and I can envision and call out what I want and do, and it feels really magical. And it's kind of just given me this new hope, like, this is just another blip. You're given the opportunity to step up to who you really are. Do it. And it's given me hope.
You, I love the way that you just articulated all of that, but holy cow, here is where I get to hear from somebody new that's embraced all these ideas. And as close as we are, you know, and how hopeful we've been that conditions will change on Earth, I am much more, not just hopeful, like blissful after today, just the last 10 minutes even, when Christine pointed out all those things that somebody that was new to the tribe sees the same way that I see. And we're just waiting for it. Well, here's the really great news. We're in a cosmic cycle. We don't have to wait for the collective to all kumbaya together for our ascension to rise, because Earth is about to go through it. That's what we don't really comprehend fully as a collective yet. More and more people are beginning to feel something, feel it during their physicality, that they sense that energy is changing and that there's something coming in the wind. And the rest of us that know more about it, all of a sudden we just got to take a collective sigh of breath, because after the first of the year, it just seemed like we're so much closer to it, that all those things that Christine was talking about co-creating in our vision and what it was going to be like is just about to come true. Almost there.
I hope it happens in this lifetime, but I'm not banking on it.
I knew, and I'll say this out loud, that I came back in this incarnation for the earth shift in my lifetime. I'm 69 years old. The clock is ticking. I will say it again online, and this is my prediction and mine alone. We have the next 2 linear years to get this work done. I'll just leave it at that. So Phil, what do you have to say, my friend?
Well, welcome, Sherrie. And is it Christine? Oh, there, Christine, you moved down to the bottom. Welcome. I can appreciate the nervousness, especially from you, Sherrie, when you hopped on. I can imagine what you just listened to. You felt right at home, which is nice. I know Irene's kind of shared some subtle messages she's tried to get to me, and I get so caught up in my head. I want you to know you have a way and a voice. Like when you started speaking today, it was like melting and so connecting, and this, I really heard you today, and I appreciate that. There's so much value in this group to hear all of these, just the way it all comes together, and I'm just glad I can be a part of it. I'm gonna sit back and listen. I had some really cool experience. I'll jump in. I had a very close loved one that struggles with addiction, and kind of not worst case scenario, but a really bad situation happened, and I got to return the favor for the person that showed up for me when I needed them. I was able to show up for someone else, and I walked away from that experience, and I was just so grateful that I had done the work to be able to show up. You guys have seen, I'm trying to find my place and where I fit in, and maybe I want to be a little bit more intentional with my studies and what I want to go, rather than getting distracted in all the options. But when you sit back and relax and you find out, you are where you are and you're able to show up in that moment, it was cool. It was cool. And so glad to be here today. Thanks, guys.
we all get something out of these exchanges. So Irene, you want to take credit for that? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much. And it's touching when you say that. I get teared up because somehow I felt a connection when I saw you on the other other podcast or on the other videos. I felt like I wanted to connect with you, and I already knew I am. So it's a kind of a confirmation for me too that the line, we don't need internet really. but this is great because we're still in the physical, and we evolved how we evolved as we are now. So it's also amazing that we, through this physicality and the internet and the technologies that were happening on the physical, it's also part of us all coming together. It's part of creation. It's an extension of creation. So thanks so much. And also this is also goes to show that it's really important not to judge anyone or think what the person is about or what's right or wrong, because truly we're still developing, evolving as a human species. Our minds, the way we were developed or molded in this framework that we call now society, it's not really natural. So it also means we see the reality a bit deformed still. And I think especially at these times, because there's so much happening with all of us, we wake up in such different places. It's very easy to start to judge, like, oh, this is not right, because that's not how it's supposed to feel. But it's so important to feel, because it's liberating for yourself too. So because when you start truly feel into it, there's only love, and especially now, there's nothing to fear. There's only like an awe, like, oh my gosh, I don't need to be. There's no competition. There's no, I need to be better than this person or I'm behind. It's like we're unfolding, and I feel, especially now in these last days, and also today, I wasn't sure if I was going to join, because like I can be enthusiastic, but it doesn't mean you need to be always somewhere right there. And I was kind of checking in. Is it necessary for me to be here? Like, I want to be of service. I don't need to be speaking always, but I felt like, is it important for me to be here? And I'm like, I can be neutral. It doesn't matter. I'm not behind. It doesn't matter. And then all of a sudden, I feel these beings show up, and it's like I can just feel these flowering beings, and they're like elven type beings. And it's like, okay, this is kind of like a sign, because I know Lo has been showing so much of these beings lately. It's like, okay, this is for me the sign. And so everybody has their own little signs. And so I don't know what to say, but I'm just here. And now, because of you are here, we're creating this presence now together. And so I want to thank you so much. And also, especially the men. I've been in other groups, and I've been also by just sharing, and usually there's more women at these times than men. And I think the men, I can tear up again, as I've always also been in a relationship with a my dearest friend who's been addicted, and he's not, he's in his own journey, and it's not possible to be with him. And it's painful, but at the same time, it's so beautiful when you can let go, and you just know everybody's in the right place. It's just so liberating. And with having said that, I just want to applaud all the men, because and I want to also to honor the person who shared it with another group. Like, he feels almost handicapped because he's not a woman. He doesn't feel what it is to feel a birthing process of something new. Like, women have a womb and men don't have that. So I really want to applaud you for being here and for taking on this role. And it's just so profound, because you hold space for women, and in that you are birth men. So you give birth to a divine mother. So in a way, you're also birthing, and it's just profound, because this is where we become like harmonized as a human species. And doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man, we hold these profound essences. And in essence, we carry both. And I think it's just profound for men to be here, that they experience that in a male form. So I just bless you all for just being
Thanks for
taking on
saying
that
that.
role.
I when I see things from a higher perspective, there's balance in all of that. I understand that what is taking place on the planet wholesale is feminine energy is rising again, where it should have been all along. I believe, I've said this before, that I believe that the divine design was a perfect balance of feminine and masculine. And it was always feminine that was connected to source, and masculine's job was to just carry it out. And somehow, when things went awry, that's where they went awry. But we're getting back to that place. In addition to everything else that's going on, that balance is being reestablished. That's how we're going to get to the next place. That's how, when we can look at those situations from the next perspective, we look back at them with, there's no judgment there. It's just an observation. If it's something that needs corrective action, then believe me, the collective is going to get together and use their best people and put them on the job. And that's just the way it is. What I wanted to say in all of that was that I love to witness. I get great delight out of when we get unsolicited messages from others. So Irene got to do that for Phil today. And Irene didn't really know whether she was supposed to show up today. So you see how it works out, because it just does. And every time I get an opportunity to say it again, just kind of want to point it out that somebody had a revelation today.
Everyone was meant to be here today, clearly.
Mhm. That's right. So anybody else have any observations before we bid adieu for the day? Wow, there. Then we're going to finish on Phil's words of wisdom at the end here. And I'll have this up in a couple hours, guys. But thanks for being here and have a great weekend. See you soon.
Thanks, Lowell. Have a good weekend.
Mhm.
Thanks, everybody.